Hi there, YouTube. It is Saint Riot, and I am currently in the midst of revisiting some older Elden Ring builds that I made, and trying to make sure everything is as efficient as possible in these builds. It's, some things have been patched. I've learned a little, so there's some stuff, just minute little details that probably needed to be changed, and it gives me a opportunity to go back and do some more invasions with these builds. And every time it strikes me how much I miss playing with the build and how much I actually enjoy it. And this invasion video is brought to you by that same exact phenomenon. This time it is my Blackflame Terror build. A build very similar to a build I made in the Dark Souls 3 era, using a sword that behaved very similarly to this what is this thing called? I forget. But there was a sword in Dark Souls 3 that was called the Onyx Blade. It wasn't a colossal sword, it was just a Greatsword. But it had a very similar move to this. The closest thing to the Onyx Blade in Elden Ring, interestingly enough, is the Ghostflame Greatsword. Health and Steeple. In Elden Ring here, the Godslayer's Blade, or whatever the hell this thing is called, is sort of like the colossal version of said weapon, and I really like it, and it gives me the chance to make a build that is centered around Blackflame, the fireball spell you just saw me use, as well as Blackflame Blade, which is a cool weapon buff you can put on your build, Blackflame Ritual, which is a spell that you saw me use in this invasion. I love that spell. We put Blackflame Blade on a Keen-infused Lord-Sworn Straight Sword, or the God Skin Stitcher, or the God Skin Peeler. We can buff any of those weapons up, and we're using all of that Godslayer stuff, including the Godslayer seal to cast our spells with. And this build is just an absolute blast. I love it. It has everything that I like. The cool Twin Blade, the cool Colossal Sword, the cool Straight Sword, and it's got the Heavy Thrusting Sword, which I am not typically a fan of, but some people, by God, deserve it. I have been making these videos, and a lot of them take place in patch 1.08. If I'm not mistaken, this video is where we start to dip into some invasions taking place in 1.09. Not all of them, but some of them, I think. Oh yeah, also Black Blade, the spell. Why do you use that, Saint? I use that because I'm pretty sure that Malekith, after defeating the Gloam-eyed Queen, took her Black Flame ability. Marika sealed it inside of Malekith. I believe that Destined Death is the Black Flame. They behave very similarly, and Malekith is involved in both of those things. So the lore, to me, kind of points towards the Black Blade being sort of a perversion of the Black Flame. So that's just my personal take. You don't have to agree with it, that's fine. But we have it on the build, and it's cool. It drains health, and it cuts max health, very similar to the Black Flame stuff. It doesn't cut max health, but it does drain health. So we've got all that on the build. It's so much fun. Such a great build. I did almost, I think, like most of these videos that you're seeing, I'm streaming, and I'm streaming invasions, and I would switch it up, and I would say, like, okay, we did 5 hours of invasions with this one build. That's probably enough footage for a YouTube video, and then I would switch to a different build. This build, so much fun that I ended up doing like 2 or 3 days worth of invasions, which is why this video is a little bit longer. And a lot of the, judge for yourself, but I thought these invasions were all just a lot of fun. So I had a blast doing this build. I was struggling against this shield here, and I was trying to think, like, what can I do? What do I have that will, mess with this shield a little bit? And I was like, I don't have the talisman that helps. It's the hammer talisman. It helps against blocking opponents. It breaks their guard faster. I don't have that, and that's a shame. That shield crash can be an absolute game changer, especially if you have a wizard backing you up. Thankfully, The host makes a terrible mistake right there, and then the Phantom makes a terrible mistake right there. He also made a terrible mistake at the level up screen when he chose to not level up his vigor. But, you know, that's between him and his god, and that one as well. Maybe the same god. The god of dying. It might be important. This invasion right here, I'm sorry I didn't get all of the footage. This just ended up being at the beginning of another invasion that I wanted the footage for. But I have invaded these two folks in the lake. They're running around with a Taunter's Tongue. And the other invader in this invasion, their character is named Sane Ryan. Who is that guy? Who could that be? Who is this handsome stranger? Absolutely doing a great job of invading with me. Old Sane Ryan. We love that guy. I love Sane Ryan. I'm going to like and subscribe to his YouTube channel and buy all of his merch. It says stuff like, I love big boys and verticality. But yeah, it was just a funny little thing to have happen, to invade with old Sane Ryan. I've known him for a long time. We go back a long ways. I think we met back in 2016 actually, which is you know what, like 6 years ago. Pretty crazy. So the peeler I have mostly not a great chase down weapon, but I didn't feel like this guy deserved the Stitcher just yet, so I went with the peeler instead. And then the Black Blade. If you run in a straight line, the Black Blade is a brutal chase down. That's a terrible Sane Ryan cosplay, by the way. I don't think I've ever worn that fashion. Props on the sword and board, I guess, but come on. Also, on this build, I have the dagger that the I can't remember their name. The Noxtella assassins. What were they called? What were they called? I can't remember their name right now. They have a little dagger that you can use, and it has the Blackflame Destined Death ability innate on it. I'll see it in a moment, and then I will say the name of it. You probably are already saying the name of it, but I am not. But I also have that on this build, because, you know, thematically it works pretty good. We're even wearing the pants of their assassin faction. You know, the one. It's got Teach and Teach's mother, Electa. How do I remember these names? How do I remember these names? It was on the night of the Black Knives. Are they called the Black Knives? Maybe they're just called the Black Knives. And maybe the dagger is called the Black Knife. Wouldn't that be something if I just couldn't remember that? Wouldn't that just be something? But that's why you don't come to me for remembering things. You come to me for PvP. Put Spinning Slash on a Lord Sworn Straight Sword with Black Flame Blade and just melt people. It rules. Alright, we're going to let this host beat the Omen because it's important that we get a cool kill, if possible. You know, it's not enough to just win. We have to look good doing it. Right? That's the old Sane Ryan mantra. Don't just win, look good winning. And if that means losing, so be it. Marika's hammer, or no, yeah, Marika's hammer, right? Not Radigan's. Radigan uses it, but it's Marika's hammer. Getting the nice backstab, wake up, hard swap, blade of death, boom! Oh, it's beautiful, right? And how thematic. How thematic. Absolutely great invasions with this build. There's one Black Flame spell that I don't use, Scouring Black Flame. And I will occasionally have people tell me that, like, no, it's good actually, you just have to free aim it. Friends, please hear me. I have tried. I've looked up and free aimed it, I've looked down and free aimed it. I've tried, okay? I just can't get that spell to do anything. I'm sorry. Now, on the other hand, I'm a Noble's Presence enjoyer, and I don't see many of us running around using Noble's Presence. But I use it, and I like it. Also, I don't see a lot of Blackflame Ritual enjoyers, but I am a Blackflame Ritual enjoyer. I have a good time with that spell. It's beautiful at setting up combos. Look at the hyper armor on the Black Blade, by the way. Absolutely gorgeous. Just eating away at that health, freaking them out because it's taken away some of their maximum health. Blackflame Ritual into Black Flame for the cover, so that, you know, maybe it's hard for him to see what I'm doing behind all those flames. Just a really cool setup there. The Blackflame Blade doesn't last very long. I think it lasts like 6 seconds or something like that. So we wear the Old Lord's Talisman, and the Old Lord's Talisman makes it last... Oh, can you imagine if I'd got the slow walk away during the Blackflame death? Oh. Sorry, Old Lord's Talisman makes the spell last 8 seconds, I think. So, you know, that's worth. 8 seconds is longer than you think it is. It doesn't seem like it's going to be very long, but when you actually are invading, you'll see that 8 seconds is a much longer period of time than you think it is. This applies in real life as well. If you've ever been into a fight, if you've ever been in a fight that lasts 8 seconds in real life feels like it takes up a day. It feels like it took a day of your life to fight for 8 seconds. It's you know, one of those things. So 8 seconds with the Old Lord Talisman, but also the Old Lord's Talisman will increase the duration of Blackflame Protection, a spell that you don't see me use very often. It increases your physical defenses in a massive way. It's a very good spell, but I just don't put it on very often unless I'm getting hit by a lot of physical damage. But when you do invasions, one thing that you'll learn is, you know, you're getting hit by a lot of magic, a lot of fire, a lot of lightning, not so much physical. I was totally lost trying to figure out where these people were at, and then it occurred to me that they could be down here. And I thought to myself, you know, like, well, of course I wasn't expecting them to be down here. No one's ever down here. This place is a nightmare. But I come down here, and sure enough, this is where they're at. Hiding as little, you know, things. And we see them there. We're not going to fall for the trap. We're not even going to walk in there. You know, this is what they want me to do, is to walk in there, so that's the last thing I'm going to do. All of these revenants, which are terrifying enemies, are gone. So we're all alone. There's no way out of here except for a ladder, which would be a Could you imagine having to get out of here with a ladder? I don't think so. Phantom Bloody Finger it is, and we reappear up here. And now, have you realized the mistake that they've made? Remember how, like, literally just a second ago, I was talking about how terrifying it would be to be trying to get out of here on the ladder? Doesn't that just seem like, you know, a horrifying thing to think about? Wouldn't it just be awful if you were down there and your only way up was with a ladder? Well, that's what's happening. Except it's happening to them now. This is what you get when you set a trap. Sometimes, you know, you fall in your own little trap. You're walking through the woods one day, and you're like, oh my god, my whole leg just came off. And you look down, and you realize that the trap you had set for the bear, you have sprung that trap, and now you don't have a leg, and you're feeling pretty foolish, aren't you? You're thinking to yourself, boy, I wish I hadn't been trying to catch that bear. I wish I had considered this possibility, you know? But you didn't, and so here we are, and now you're stuck down there. You're just absolutely trapped, like rats, but rats who are getting shot with a portable ballista, which is, you know, pretty terrifying prospect to be dealing with, and now you're dealing with it. Well, we got one. He made it up. Let's do the 1v1. Nice use of the great stars there. Let's see if he can deal with... Oh, no! Don't roll bad. He didn't roll bad. Fine work. Except now he's up here with a bunch of enemies, and he rolled bad. GG's. Good game. On to the next one. This will have given the other two time to figure out an escape plan. The host made it up there. The Phantom now coming up the ladder. We're going to try and catch him with Blackflame Tornado, which is used to be a very strong Ash of War, And in regards to PvE, still is a very strong Ash of War. It's not as strong in PvP anymore because it's easier to poise through it. And if they poise through it, they don't get stuck in the stun lock. And if they don't get stun locked, they don't panic. But it still has some uses like people coming up ladders. See if you can spot the host. I immediately clocked him. See if you can spot him. Did you see him? Yeah, not doing a very good job of hiding. Not doing a very good job of hiding. But that's okay. We want to find him. Now, I feel like this guy deserves the Stitcher. So we go for the Impaling Thrust, Piercing Fang, and it missed. I love Piercing Fang and Impaling Thrust. A little verticality for your day. This spell comes out so fast. How are you supposed to deal with it at point blank range? Jeez. And you can charge it. You can throw the timing of it off. This guy's got a parry shield, so we have to be aware of that. He cannot parry Noble's Presence. That's right, a Noble's Presence kill. It's look at me, Noble's Presence. Anyway, this is the build. This is what we use. These are our spells, and I love them all. And I love this build. It's a ton of fun. Trying to remember if I ended up making any big changes to this build. I did, actually. I used to have more faith and less dex, but I evened it up a little bit. So now we've got 47 dex and 60 faith. And, we're getting closer to that 50-60 split, which is great. So this is this is a dex faith build. We are at level 168 to try and avoid 150. And the reason we're trying to avoid 150 is because that's just where people are beating the game. So I decided, hey, let's go to 168 and see what it would be like there. I don't have to go all the way up to 200, but maybe I can still avoid, those fog wall invasions where people just walk in to fight a boss and it just sucks. Here's the talismans. I think I ended up replacing the 2 Fingers talisman with the prosthesis wearers so that I could have the 5 decks and get closer to an even split. But Godfrey's icon is great for the fully charged spells. The Black Flame ritual, which behaves interestingly. If you try and use Black Flame ritual, notice that fully charging it increases the distance at which it goes out. If you just tap the button, the Black Flame ritual is right around your feet. If you hold it, it goes further out. So it's an interesting spell. For sure. A lot of fun stuff you can do with that. Anyway, that's the build. Look at that AR. Absolutely insane. Great dex scaling. Great for a dex build. Dex faith. Black Flame guy. Thanks for watching. Later, y'all.